We have crumbling infrastructure throughout the states. Education is lacking. We have over $36 trillion in debt. Why the are we sending billions and billions and billions to a state that is committing genocide? Zionist militias are the terrorists, but then they come and they steal and they colonize and, do what they do, but then they blame the natives they basically turn the tables. They blame the natives on what they were doing. My name is William Asfour. I'm a 28-year-old Palestinian-American from Gaza, living in the Chicagoland area. I was born in America and I went to Gaza right away, where I spent the first 4 years of my life. So I lived in Abasan, East Khan Yunis, where I grew up with my aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, before the second Intifada that started in 2000 kind of made everything hell at that point. So the second Intifada started September 28th, 2000. So I was 3 years old, soon to be 4. And it was, there was big changes, like my days outside with my cousins and neighbors and my uncles came to an end, really. I couldn't go outside. I couldn't play with my cousins or anyone. I couldn't fly my kites, with my uncle, because there was literally tanks outside of our house. We were closer to the border on the east side of Khan Yunis, and there used to be a settlement near our village. So there was a heightened, security risk and a lot of Israeli military soldiers around the area. So you would hear the shootings, you would see the missiles in the sky, you would see the tanks outside of your house. So my dad did not allow us to go outside at all. Yeah, so I was starting to form like my first memories around this time. It was pretty hectic. But I remember before the Intifada starting, I felt free. I felt like I had a lot of family and friends in the area. I was just enjoying my childhood. But there was still even like shooting and stuff going on then. Like I remember we had a special room we would have to go run to anytime there was shooting, like throughout the whole day. Middle of the night, middle of the day. But that just felt like normal. It's terrible to say, like a 3-year-old having to say that just felt normal, right? But it didn't stop the fun. But when the Intifada started in September of 2000, 2 days after, September 30th, 2000, Mohammed al-Durra was killed in his father's lap, and he became an icon of the second Intifada. Him and Faris Auda in the northern part of Gaza. But this was like a huge turning point for a lot of people. Like it was kind of a revelation for a lot of people. People started to realize maybe the Palestinians are telling the truth, because they never want to believe us. But I vividly remember the picture of Mohammed al-Durra killed in his father's lap, and it will stick with me for the rest of my life. And honestly, with my generation, it's going to stick with them the rest of their lives too. So seeing that on the news and on cassette tapes, when you go to the markets, you would see it everywhere. Like it was like a never forget type of moment for us. Yeah. So we left Gaza late August, early September of 2001. So a year into the Intifada, and we came to America, but we left. So my grandparents were there, my aunts and uncles on my mom's side, maternal aunts and uncles, a lot of my first cousins from, my mom is one of 13 kids, so we have a huge family. Leaving Gaza at that time, late August of 2001, I didn't know that would be my last time seeing a lot of these relatives of mine, a lot of my first cousins, a lot of my grandparents. Honestly, I haven't seen my grandfather since, and he ended up dying because of the genocide, because of the siege. And my grandmother on my dad's side, that was my last time seeing her as well. So, and you don't know that. I was a 4-year-old kid turning 5 in a few months, and I didn't know it would be like a final goodbye, So right now in Gaza, I have aunts, uncles, and first cousins, and a lot of distant relatives as well.
So what's it like living here while you have relatives in Palestine?
Oh man, it's very difficult. Every day, even before October 7th, I've always dealt with this survivor's guilt. asking myself, like, just asking out loud, thinking out loud, like, why do I get to live in comfort? Why do I have these basic necessities? Like, why do I get to have water and electricity and food? The freedoms that I have, while my people, my family, are literally starving to death, being starved to death, being shot at for trying to get flour for their families, for their children, being targeted for absolutely no reason, being sniped, being shot at by drones and tanks and being bombed, from the sky. It's been something I've been struggling with for many years, because we've lost family before October 7th of 2023. We've lost a lot of family in 2014. I've lost family in 2008, 2009. We had people be injured in 2012. So this, it didn't, we all know history didn't begin October 7th of 2023. We've been losing family since the creation of Israel in 1948. People have been getting displaced, or we have people who've lost limbs over the years. I had 2 cousins die. And, before October 7th, I had 2 cousins die because they weren't allowed permits to leave to get treatment that they needed, medical treatment, the medicine, So these are my 2 first cousins from my uncle, Ibrahim. Khalo Ibrahim is what I call him. My mom's oldest brother. He has 14 kids, and he had two of his sons die because Israel didn't allow them to leave and get the treatment, life-saving treatment. And this is a common theme. We knew people, neighbors, we knew people who had brain tumors or cancer before October 7th who were not allowed to leave Gaza to get the life-saving treatment, and they ended up dying because of such atrocities by the the terrorist state of Israel. For some reason, I really don't know how, but every day seems like it's getting worse, and you could never, you wouldn't even it's unfathomable, it's how can it get worse? But it's still getting worse somehow. So it's been eating me up. It's been killing me. There's nights I couldn't sleep. There's days I couldn't eat. Just not only just the survivor's guilt, attacking me, but I have when I see images when I see the footage of my people, and then sometimes my family popping up in these feeds, it's devastating. It leaves me speechless. I feel helpless. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I can't do anything. It makes me, honestly, it puts me in a funk. I don't care to socialize. I don't care to go out and have fun. I'm not. Why the hell would I go do these things while my people are literally being killed? There's a broadcasted Holocaust, a live stream genocide happening to my people where I used to live, where my mom was born and raised, where my father was born and raised, where my grandparents were born and raised, and then the ones who came from Jaffa to Gaza, they made a life there. I used to play there. My first memories are in Gaza, and it's just everything is being erased. The house I grew up in is destroyed. My mom's childhood house destroyed, and I just can't. I sit and I keep thinking, how the fuck is this allowed to happen? How is this? Are we that devalued and dehumanized that people just don't care when you see starving people, children looking like skeletons, starving to death? Now you see adults starving to death. You see people being dismembered. Their limbs are just flying off because Israel's bombing them. Israel is sniping these people. They're targeting people in their tents. You destroy their houses. You make them go to a fucking tent, and then you bomb their tent. It's ridiculous. It pisses me off. It eats me. It chips away at me on an hourly basis. It's I don't know, man. It's very devastating, and I just feel helpless. I feel like shit. I feel guilty. I feel like my tax dollars are contributing to this bullshit. So, at one point during this genocide, I actually left America. I was fed up, but then I had some revelations when I was out of the country, and I realized this is where we need to be This is the belly of the beast. This is the snake's head, and the fight needs to happen here. So politically, spreading awareness, if we cut this is the source. Everything is coming from here, from our tax dollars. They get diplomatic support from America. They get financial support from America, military support from America. So if we come and change that here, this is the realization I came to while I spent time overseas. So for me, I was born in America, but I left right away and I lived in Gaza. My brothers were born in Gaza. So then we came back. Well, we came to America after a couple of years, but I guess I'm first generation, right? I guess I'm first generation. So I used to live in the motherland. But growing up, you'll see different types of people in the diaspora. There's different categories, I would say. You have people who are first generation, you have people who are fresh off the boat, you know what I'm saying? So people who've been here they're second generation, third generation even. So it's unique to see people's perspectives. Some people are still devoted to our cause, and then some people, unfortunately, they don't even know their own personal story. I met some Palestinians, they don't know where they're from in Palestine. They can't point to a map. They can't point to their town on a map, or even the name of the town. That breaks my heart. Yeah. They're not doing their part. So we got to make sure we just educate ourselves and our people if we want liberation.
Yeah.
So I'm big on civic engagement, meaning you, as American citizens, you have a lot of rights and privileges, right? So you should exercise these rights and privileges. We have freedom of speech to an extent, right? We're able to vote. We're able to run for office. So these are a lot of tools you have. We can protest, right? But make sure the tools you have are diverse and you're using all of them. So being civically engaged means know who your elected officials are. These people are representing you, right? At a state and local level, and obviously there's federal level as well, but make sure you know who these people are because you're the one voting them in. Yeah. So if one of your elected officials is voting on stuff against your interests or your favor, vote their ass out or contact them. Let them know hey, I didn't appreciate you going this route, because of X, Y, and Z. So I want to build relationships with whoever's elected, and I want to run for something one day, inshallah, as well. So that being said, advocacy is very important because if we're not even there talking to our elected officials, they're not going to think of us. We can't hold them accountable. You know what I mean? Do we do our part? Do we build these coalitions and bridges with them? And we're not going to like all of them. We just got to accept that. We're not going to agree on everything. We're not going to like 100% what they like. That's just not. It's not realistic. It's not practical. But we come at it from a humanitarian perspective. We show them the footage of the children, of the women, of the elderly, and the men. We show them the death and destruction that Israel has caused in Gaza, and we get them from this approach, from this perspective, and we'll start to plant seeds, right? And it's unfortunate, but it's almost like we have to vouch for our humanity, right? But this is something that should have started a while ago. I mean, okay, let me backtrack. We shouldn't have to go tell everyone we're human, right? But unfortunately, due to a lot of media bias, a lot of rhetoric from politicians and elected officials, and pop culture, movies, TVs, video games, our religion and our Islam, our religion and our race, our ethnicity, our culture has been demonized, and we've just been so dehumanized. It's acceptable for people to say and do whatever they want against us. So this is how we need to combat this dehumanization by humanizing ourselves, which it sounds fucked up, but this is how we have to start. We have to do this. Yeah. So making these connections with people who we don't normally talk to or care for, and start to show them look, we have a lot more in common than you think, and just realize coming at it from we want to be America first. America first means cutting off all this aid to Israel that's committing genocide and killing Americans even. They're killing Americans in the West Bank. And like I said before, we have over 700,000 homeless people here in the United States. We have crumbling infrastructure throughout the states. Education is lacking. We have over $36 trillion in debt. Why the fuck are we sending billions and billions and billions to a state that is committing genocide? To an apartheid state, a state that's killing Americans? It makes no sense to me. So if we expose these people, we show them this, we'll make these politicians choose. Are you going to pick America or are you going to prioritize interests of a foreign state?
Yeah.
So what I say to these people, like if the first thing they say or ask is, what about Hamas? Or they talk about October 7th. I would ask them, does October 7th justify a genocide in Gaza? Does October 7th justify starving an entire population, bombing civilians, destroying infrastructure, healthcare, education, farming? Does October 7th justify all that? So I'd flip it on them and I ask them, are you pro-genocide? Is that what you're telling me? Are you using this to validate the mass killing and slaughter of Palestinian civilians, women and children included?
Yeah.
So that's what I would ask them. And the other thing I would say is, I would ask them, why are you so fixated on October 7th? Do you know the 75 plus year history before October 7th even began? Where were you when 6,700 Palestinians in Gaza were killed from 2007 until October 6, 2023? How come you didn't say shit then? And we can talk about the Nakba 1947, 1949 range. We could talk about the 750,000 Palestinians displaced then. We can talk about the 15,000 Palestinians who were killed during that time period, or the 500 villages that were destroyed during this time period. But they never want to talk about that. They never want to dig deeper. They don't want to go. They go surface level. They don't want any context. Groups like Hamas would not exist if Israel didn't have a military occupation on Gaza and the West Bank. So, and East Jerusalem as well. They just don't understand this. It's a resistance group. What are they resisting? Ask yourself these questions. 1987 is when Hamas was founded, and they were a charity group. They were trying to spread Islam. They were donating to the poor, to the elderly, because Gaza at the time, some people were getting a little, uncomfortable with the Westernization happening in Gaza. So they didn't like women being more revealing or provocative. They wanted them to be more modest, But it started people they never want to talk about 1967 even. Yeah. So the 6-Day War, they call it, the Nexa is what we call it, the setback. Yeah. This Gaza and the West Bank has been occupied since June of 1967 under military occupation. And then 20 years after that, that's when you get the first Intifada, and that's when you get a group like Hamas that came about. So when they're fixated on October 7th, that's how I tackle them. I give them the context, and then I ask them, are you pro-genocide? Does October 7th justify the mass slaughter of Palestinian civilians? Yeah. I will say with Amnesty International, they did publish a whole document about Israel being an apartheid state. That was before October 7th. And Human Rights Watch as well. Even Israeli human rights groups. Yeah. They published evidence of Israel being an apartheid state. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing. However, you're right, there wasn't much footage, coverage on Gaza or the West Bank, East Jerusalem. Nobody's given context. Even in 2014, when Obama was president, Obama, by the way, his administration signed the $3.8 billion a year to Israel contract. So Obama's the one who did that. So it was a $38 billion deal to Israel. So that's the whole thing. These fake-ass Democrats and progressives and liberals, they piss me off. Bernie Sanders, he pisses me off. AOC pisses me off. They're all fake as fuck, man. They're fake. They're performative. They want to weaponize our struggles And when I say "are," I mean anyone who's marginalized. So if people of color, Muslims, women, like any of these groups who are marginalized, they will go and speak good words and a bunch of sweet nothings about your struggle just to take your fucking vote and not do shit about it when they're in office. So AOC, she's been fake as hell since 2021. If you just look at how she's voting, she's either voting in favor of Israel or like voting like, oh, I'm not here, weapons to Israel, the Iron Dome funding. Just go look at her history, but she wants to cater to us with her words, but she caters to her Zionist base with her actions. So what really matters? This is why I call her performative. Same shit with Bernie Sanders, bro. You have Republicans calling what's happening in Gaza a genocide before these Democrats, before the party of the people and these social justice warriors. They're all fake as fuck all of them. Like for real, man, they piss me off. And anyone who's blindly following and supporting them, you're hurting yourself, bro. Like just dig into what they're saying, what they're doing. It's more important to look at their actions. How are they voting? Like what are they doing? So don't fall for this bullshit, performative, measures that they're doing. You're just embarrassing yourself, man. Like this is. By the way, I used to be left leaning myself. Like don't get me wrong, I used to, but then I grew up. I got a little smarter. But man, they make me just so mad, bro. I can go off.
You know what really made me upset?
I need to relax, man. I got distracted. Go ahead. But yeah, go ahead.
It's a refresher.
For real, bro. For real.
I mean, what made me really upset, and I think going back to your point, when Mahmoud Khalil came out.
Oh.
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Side by side. And I'm like, when you talk about performative, when you talk about fake, when you talk about all of these, the masks come off.
Mm-hmm.
Their actions speak louder than words, and subhanAllah, you see that anybody that has eyes to see, you see the performative,
picturing with him.
Yeah, 100%.
Making statements after he's released. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, you fake son of a bitch, bro. You fake as fuck, man. That makes me so mad. I said the left is. They are using Mahmoud Khalil as a political token. Yeah. You know what I mean? I hope he knows their intentions. Because what are they doing? They want to vilify Trump. They want to vilify the right, basically.
That's the game they're playing now.
Exactly. They don't care about Mahmoud Khalil. They don't care about us. They don't. Again, Obama deported 3 million motherfuckers, bro. Obama deported more people than Trump, you know what I mean? Like, so if you look at the numbers, like I'm all about results. You know what I'm saying? If you got Democrats saying nice words and kumbaya bullshit, but they're actually doing the same shit or even worse, like to your standards, like deporting people or holding children in cages.
Yeah.
Democrats are doing that, and as you saw with the Biden administration, he was like enabling the genocide in Gaza. He was funding the genocide in Gaza. And he was repeating myths that were debunked by Israel even. Like he was saying 40 beheaded babies. The White House had to walk his comments back. How embarrassing is that? This old fuck being our president, and he's repeating myths that were already debunked. You know what I mean? And like it goes to show how dehumanized we are and how devalued we are. We got the president of the United States parroting Zionist myths and propaganda right here in America, and he's saying he's a Zionist. You know what I mean? This should wake everyone up.
Yeah.
And he's a Democrat, right? So like he's supposed to be about social justice, but genocide is fine. You can do genocide. We'll give you the bombs. We'll give you the money. We'll give you the diplomatic support. We'll veto all the ceasefire votes.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. Like you're tainting America's image even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, it tells you everything you need to know. So they're saying, hey, we will recognize Palestine as a state, as an ultimatum. It's basically waiting on Israeli actions. You know what I mean? So like recognizing Palestine, giving us a state, self-determination should not be based on Israeli actions. So, like when I heard it, I'm like, it couldn't, like, I'm like, is this real? Like, I had to dig into it more. I'm like, damn, he actually said that, the guy in the UK.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like, does this, like, hello, like the language he just used just blows my fucking mind. And it's honestly, it shouldn't be shocking because again, it's nothing new. Like we've been dehumanized and not valued at all. But now Israel's crying and pulling the anti-Semitic card as usual. That's their ploy, their favorite go-to. And they're saying you're going to reward terrorism. Bro, you are the fucking terrorist. What are you talking about? You've been killing fucking civilians since you began, even before the state of Israel was founded in 1948. Right. You know what I mean? So like Zionist militias are the terrorists, but then they come and they steal and they colonize and do what they do, but then they blame the natives for they basically turn the tables. They blame the natives on what they were doing.
Right. Exactly. Which
is terrorism. So when I hear politicians say stop the war, some of them don't say genocide. They don't want to say genocide.
Yeah.
Stop the war in Gaza, or else we will recognize a state of Palestine. Like, what the fuck kind of shit is that? You know what I mean? Are you kidding me? Like, it blew my mind, man. It shouldn't. Us having self-determination and a statehood should not be based on Israeli action. You know what I mean? And they shouldn't be granted by these like Europeans and these Western powers and imperialist bullshit.
Just talk to me a little bit about what they're going through right now.
Yeah, so we were in touch obviously with my like aunts and uncles before October 7th, and then we obviously like after October 7th we were all just terrified for our family. My mom's siblings, my mom's nieces and nephews, my cousins. We were terrified, and then we had. My grandparents were alive at this time too. My grandfather. We were concerned for their safety and their health. Yeah. And then they announced a complete siege on October 7th. And we were just like, how is my grandfather going to get his medicine and the treatment that he needs? How's my family going to eat? How's my family going to survive? The water was already 97% like contaminated before the siege of October 7th. So it's just, it breaks our hearts to think it can somehow get worse. Like we were already like, sad and feeling bad for them before October 7th, and then like it just got heightened. So we stay in contact. We're in a lot of group chats, and my mom is constantly on the phone with somebody there whenever we can be on the phone with them because they cut telecommunications, they cut internet, they cut service. So there's been blackouts, and we've gone several days, even a week sometimes, without talking to family and not knowing if they're alive. Hearing that their places that they're staying have been bombed, and just being terrified, like did we just lose a family member? Yeah. And a lot of situations we did lose family members. We've lost distant relatives. Again, my mom lost her uncle, her aunt. They were both 60 plus, and then my mom lost first cousins and children of first cousins, and neighbors, and all of our houses. Like it's disheartening. It's terrible to see it, and they reassure us. So like when we hear from them, they said yes. We survived. We're surviving. Alhamdulillah. They were able to get the little food that was there before. So like they were able to find flour, but people are surviving on like literally like lentils. They're like vegetables are very expensive. They're even rotting, but they're still expensive. So they'll buy a vegetable and they'll like broth it, and they make that last for as long as possible, like a week or so. So like it's unthinkable. And then the water, very limited. Everything is scarce. You have to buy like around in the local markets, but like people are just selling whatever they have at inflated prices. Yeah. Cash. It's cash only. Yeah. Cash is 40% transfer fees. So no matter what you send, 40% is automatically gone. It's terrible. Like the conditions these are engineered conditions. This is an engineered famine. This is what people need to start saying. We need to give credit to Israel here. You know what I'm saying? We can't deflect. Israel is the one who's doing this, and they can stop it like that if they want. They can lift the siege. They can stop bombing women and children and men. They can stop attacking hospitals and schools. But they don't. They don't want to. They could have had their fucking hostages back October 9th, October 10th of 2023, but they declined it and they chose genocide and collective punishment instead. So it's not about their fucking hostages. They don't care about their hostages. They killed dozens of them. You know, if they cared about their hostages, they would have agreed to a fucking ceasefire. They would have agreed to a hostage swap, and they would have taken them back alive. But instead, they were insistent on killing everyone there, including their own people. So as you can see, even Israelis are demonstrating and protesting against Netanyahu and that terrorist fucking government of his. But like, sorry, I was going on a tangent. But my family, we're in contact. Alhamdulillah, we send them whenever we can. We always check up on them, and it's like here my uncle of 14 kids say he has to ration expired like canned goods. It's heartbreaking. You know what I mean? It's terrible. What do I say to someone who says it's complicated? Well, I mean, I asked him, do you think like killing women and children and elderly and bombing all residential areas and hospitals and schools, is that complicated to you? Like, you would think like a genocide should be stopped, right? You would think like people are against the genocide, you know? So that's part of the myths and the dehumanization and the media bias and the Israeli propaganda, Zionist propaganda, to just get people away from ever considering Palestinians as human. So that's part of that bullshit. That's part of their tactics. Yeah. It's not complicated at all. Like saying, oh yeah, Israel was founded in 1948. Just ask yourself basic critical questions. Like just think critically for a minute. Yeah. Where did these Zionists come from? What did they do? How did they establish a Palestinian state? It's really not complicated, you know. There's a timeline. It's pretty basic. What happened? It's ethnic cleansing. It's apartheid. It's a mass, expulsion. It's starvation. It's genocide. Like it's really not complicated at all. So when you say it's complicated, you're basically you're trying to like give yourself a pass on like not knowing what's happening. You're trying to like trick people into saying, oh, you know what? I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care. It's too complicated for me to even answer. These are fake barriers of entry that are part of the problem. Part of the reason why people don't understand the suffering of the Palestinian people. Part of the reason why people don't understand that Israel has a military occupation on Palestine. So it's not complicated at all. It's been over 77 years now. It's really not that complicated. So how people can help. First and foremost, be informed. So understand like the context of the Palestinian suffering. So if you're Palestinian, like know your family story. Know where you're from. Is that where you're from originally, or was your family displaced? Know why you're in America. So it's all about knowing the why. So strive to know that. Spreading awareness. You don't like, if you go to direct sources, like I consider myself a primary source, people consider me a biased source. Yeah. I don't want to learn from you because you're biased. But they have no problem listening to Zionists or Jews or Zionist Jews, Israelis. I'm like, are they not biased? And if you're using that logic, like I'm from there. I'm originally from there. I live there. I have family there. I'm a fucking primary source. You're not going to write me off. It goes to the dehumanization. They don't want to value us. They don't want to give platforms to Palestinians. They don't want to give voices to Palestinians. We don't need people speaking on our behalf. We're more than capable of speaking on our suffering. We're more than capable of talking about like what we've endured for 7 decades or so. So that's what really pisses me off. Give your ear to Palestinians, first and foremost. I'll say that. Listen to the actual people who are actually affected, right? So from there, be informed, be intentional, and spread awareness. Like go to credible news sources, and just spread the facts. Like, okay, 100 people were killed today by Israel. 90 of them were trying to get aid. 10 of them starved to death. Start spreading awareness on these facts. And you can donate. Make sure you're donating to credible sources again, credible like charities. So that, in a nutshell, listen to Palestinians, spread awareness from credible sources, and donate to credible sources. So my hope for the future, immediately I want to see a ceasefire in Gaza. We need to see humanitarian aid be flooded into Gaza. The siege needs to be lifted. So ceasefire, end the siege. Israel needs to completely deploy out of Gaza, get the hell out of my land, and reconstruction should begin. So, but paid by Israel and America and anyone else who supported the Israeli genocide in Gaza. So allow Gazans to rebuild, give people the treatment that they need. If they need to go abroad for treatment, make sure that's covered and let them back in. So ceasefire, lift the siege, reconstruction, reparations, and self-determination.
Yeah. Why can't Jordan help? Why can't Egypt help?
Because we're funding them too. America is funding Egypt. America sends money to Egypt. America sends money to Jordan.
Yeah.
And like, I have my comments on these two different governments, Jordan and Egypt. However, it's not their priority to help Palestinians. That sounds wrong. Like, that did not sound right. But I'm trying to say basically, like, Israel needs to stop doing what it's doing. That's what people should focus on. When they go to, what about Jordan? What about Egypt? This is deflecting. What about the occupier? What about the person who's occupying and killing and starving people? What about that? What about the military occupation? Let's start there, right? So it's a deflection tactic, which I don't buy. We're not here to talk about Egypt and Jordan, but Egypt and Jordan are being paid by America as well. They get foreign aid from us, which we should cut too. I'm for cutting all foreign aid everywhere. I don't want money going to Ukraine. I definitely don't want money going to Israel. I don't want money going to Egypt or Jordan. We need to focus domestically. So that's my American side. However, anything that's not talking about what Israel's doing directly is a deflection, and it's a distraction. So let's focus on Israel. Let's hold it accountable for once. Let's talk about the ICJ genocide case that South Africa brought against Israel, and they deemed that there's plausibility there. Let's talk about these. How about we end Israeli impunity? How about we start holding these people accountable for their atrocities, for even killing American citizens in the West Bank, for killing people in Gaza, for killing people in the West Bank, and in the 48 region as well. You're right. So we want to challenge the narratives, and we want to counter the false narratives and take control of it and start spreading the truth. So one thing I want to start doing eventually, hopefully with maybe another organization or something, is to start narrating and creating narratives that are easily digestible for the everyday person, everyday pal, right? Because what Israel's doing, what their propaganda, what it's doing, it's an insult on intelligence. They're getting away with so much dangerous rhetoric. They're getting away with all these myths, stuff that is easily debunkable, and no one's challenging it. So that's a reflection on us too. So what I want to do is I want to create powerful narratives to combat their false propaganda, their harmful propaganda. Basically, start humanizing us and educating the everyday person.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be in control of the narrative. But lastly, I'll say on that is what they've been doing is how do I say this? They dehumanize us, like I've said before, dehumanize us, they devalue us. They condition the public to hate us in order to justify their actions on us. So that's exactly what you were talking about, the kafir, the terrorism, and they start conditioning people to associate, okay, Palestinians are inherently evil, Muslims are inherently evil. So all this, people eat it up. They eat up fear. They eat up hate, and it's powerful. And we need to start combating this. So that's what I wanted to say on that.
what message would you have for the people of Gaza?
Okay, so my message for the people of Gaza, you guys are resilient, you guys are very strong, there's no one else like you guys. You give everyone else hope, you showed the world the impossible, and you are doing a lot of great work, which is exposing what our people have been enduring for over 7 decades. You are showing the world who the true evil terrorists are, which is the Israeli occupation. And we pray for you. You guys are always in our prayers. You guys are always in our hearts. And may Allah guide you guys all and give you guys health and wealth and success.